I'm joined now by Giovanna, Dr Hilary and breastfeeding expert Claire Byam-Cook, who's helped thousands of mums, among them Kate Winslet and Lily Allen, no less. We've also set up our own pop-up breastfeeding club as well, right here. And in just a moment, Claire's going to be taking questions from some of our girls. But first, everybody's experience, it's different, isn't it, Giovanna?
Yeah.
It is really different.
And I think it's such a shame that there's so much debate on this subject because it is so personal, and I don't feel like we should be defending ourselves all the time about our choices, because we all just want the same thing, which is our babies to be happy. But I had this thing in my head that I wanted to breastfeed. I went for a class. I was very worried about the class. Thought I was going to have to get my boobs out to a stranger. I didn't have to. But when the baby came along, it was a very different thing. Like, we're both learning. Neither of us knew what we were doing, so it was kind of learning our way.
Sure.
And I cried a lot. Thought about giving up a lot. And it wasn't until a friend of mine said, why don't you just stop? That I suddenly thought, oh, I could just stop, actually. That's a good point, but I don't want to. So I carried on. And I think I always said to myself I'd carry on until Buzz was 6 months or until he had teeth. And actually, 6 months came and I just thought, it's been so easy, and yeah, I just want to... why stop now?
Sure.
And then he got teeth and he didn't do anything with them, so I was like, I'll just carry on. So I carried on for a year.
Right.
And I'm just so glad that I did. But yeah, I mean, that's just my story. But
everybody's different.
Exactly.
Everybody's got a different story.
Exactly.
And Hilary, not everybody can, sadly. And there are actually medical reasons why some women can't breastfeed.
Yeah, there are a lot of problems that can arise,
Sure.
which produce challenges for that woman who wants to breastfeed, but most of them are overcomable. If we're talking about sore nipples, cracked nipples, you can overcome that. Engorgement of the breast, mastitis, you can carry on breastfeeding with mastitis. So there are lots of myths that stop people continuing with breastfeeding, whereas in fact they usually can in almost all cases. Of course, there are some medical instances, just pure exhaustion sometimes. You know, a pregnancy that's been very stressful, mother's exhausted, she may have other problems, thyroid disorders, that sort of thing, then clearly that there may be strong medical reasons. But in most instances where we hear about engorgement, mastitis, you know, low milk supply, too much milk supply, we can overcome these with good, solid, consistent advice.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it, Claire? I mean, you know, you're a complete expert in this, and sometimes it just takes a little bit of advice. For me, it was just a little change in position, and then it was all absolutely fine. I was very lucky.
Absolutely right, and really breastfeeding shouldn't hurt. So if it's painful, there's something wrong. It's not something you should have to live through for weeks on end till suddenly it gets better. And I always say it's a bit like wearing a well-fitting pair of shoes.
Yeah.
You could wear the same right size shoe, but if it just rubs in the wrong place, you get a blister.
Sure.
So a baby can, to an untrained eye, you can think the baby's latched on right, but just a tiny adjustment can make a difference.
No, of course.
And actually, listening to that film, I think I heard a mother say that she could never latch the baby on, even in hospital. So we wonder why our breastfeeding rates are so low.
I know.
If nobody in the hospital could show her how to latch the baby on, and she's just booted out and told, don't worry, the baby will get the hang of it when you get home.
That's the thing, it's getting that help, and that's the help that I got.
No wonder they give up breastfeeding.